Ironheart, Season 1, Episode 3. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Marvel Plus, the podcast devoted to all things MCU. My name is Brett Scott. I am your host, and this is the show. And I am running behind here. I got to get this episode out because the new episodes of this show drop tonight, meaning I got to record tomorrow and the next day, and I got a lot of content to put out. So I'm not going to give you a whole bunch of stuff here in the beginning. I'll just say, go check out the Patreon, come join the Facebook group, Marvel Plus Podcast, rate and review the show wherever you can if you enjoy it. And let's get into this conversation with my good friend, Gerald G-Ride King. All right, G-Ride returns. Gerald King, welcome back to the show, my friend.
What's up, y'all? Marvel Plus is always good to be here.
Hey, man. So you reached out to me as you were watching this series. You said a lot of hometown vibes going on here. So tell me about that. Like you're originally from Chicago. Is that what?
Yep, I'm originally from Chicago. I'm a West Sider. That's why I kind of like this series. I kind of like this character too because when I was growing up reading comic books and everything, everybody was from New York and Brooklyn, Queens, and places like that. So it's good to see a character from my hometown, even though she's from the South Side and I'm from the West Side, and they're two different worlds. It's still good to see some of that, some of that stuff that I grew with in the show. Because that was always my dream. Like when I first got into photography, to kind of show the sides of Chicago that people don't normally see. So I was into it right away.
So did they allow? I'm sure a lot of the actual actor filming isn't done in Chicago, but all the backdrops whenever they do the zoom out shots and stuff like that. Is there stuff that you recognize and stuff in there that's definitely okay, they're really making it feel like Chicago?
Yeah, one thing that I found kind of funny was there's a neighborhood called Humboldt Park in Chicago, and that's traditionally the Puerto Rican neighborhood, and they do all the parades and you'll see the flags and stuff up there like that. And I noticed I don't know if it was this episode or the one before, but they were sitting in a van, the guys doing the heist, and the side of the van said Humboldt, like the company. And these guys are Puerto Rican, so it was like
okay. It was like a little nod.
I don't know how many people caught that, but me being from Chicago, I'm like, wait a minute, I wonder if these guys gonna be Puerto Rican. And it turned out they were, the two.
Of course.
So I thought that was funny. But another thing too about the city of Chicago, when they do shoot it, it's like they use a lot of what I call postcard shots. And
okay,
a lot of feedback. Yeah, they use a lot of postcard shots, what I call the the lakefront, the Sears Tower. You know what I'm saying? Places like that. But Chicago has an underbelly too. It's a lot of places that you wouldn't know unless you go there. And they show some of those places on the South Side, but sometimes on the West Side they like to keep that stuff out of the spotlight because it's the more grittier side of town. And there's a lot of people that work at Marvel from the South Side of Chicago too, so they show all those neighborhoods too, and that's kind of what I like about it.
Right.
But where I grew up was kind of by the United Center. Where the United Center is now. It was the Chicago Stadium across the street, so I kind of grew up around that neighborhood. And it's a lot of poverty, but then again, there's the $10 million NBA stadium down the street. You know what I'm saying? There's this duality, and I think the show is kind of leaning towards that. Her being a genius, but she can't find money. She's not Tony Stark. You know what I mean? So I think that's I kind of like that, and I think that's where they're going with it.
Yeah, and it's also this group of people who didn't really have anything going after these ultra rich like tech entrepreneurs and stuff and trying to take from them kind of a piece of the pie.
Right, yeah, and I can kind of relate to that. You know what I'm saying? When I was growing up, wanting to be a comic artist, and then me and my father were behind the camera, and just just trying to find my place in the world. I didn't really want to work at it wasn't a thing to work at Disney or anything like that. But I'm like, hey, if it happens, it happens. But
right,
just learning all the different techniques and stuff like that, and not having enough money, I can always relate to that. Even to this day. and just but I found out, like, we're just being where you don't have money, you can be creative, and sometimes that's good that you don't have the money to actually buy something. That forces you to be creative in what you do have. So I like that aspect of the show too.
Yeah, I do feel like not only with creativity but just with just ambition, right? It's like
yeah,
if you already have it, there's no like struggle creates ambition,
right.
whether it be for art's sake or just like achieving more in any field.
Yeah, and you see the whole thing with her going to MIT, but yes, she's a genius. Yes, she belongs, but she still, even in that environment, she still don't feel like she quite fits in. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
and then like, and another thing I liked is that it continued what was going on in Wakanda Forever. Where we kind of see the first glimpse of her, and I kind of like that as an intro too, because now we know who she is a little bit, but now we can go in her backstory and see where she goes from there. And I think that experience of her going to Wakanda kind of set her apart a little bit. Made her even more of a misfit, but at the same time, she has a renewed energy. And
right. She's been now exposed to stuff that like other people haven't even been exposed. Even these people at MIT haven't been exposed to. So it's like she comes back with this like, I know what's possible.
And the whole deal with her flying back home, metaphorically, she goes back to her roots to kind of readjust, rethink her options. So I like all of that. That I really like this show. It's I like the fact that in the comic book it was Tony Stark that was her AI, but in this show it was her best friend that died. And I like that twist because Robert Downey Jr. is he cast a big shadow. And I like that twist on it. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing him in the show. He is Iron Man, but I like that they kind of making this distinction that she's influenced by Tony Stark, but she's not Tony Stark. I think they can play with that a little bit, and like during the next few films or TV shows or whatever, I think she can be a standout character, especially when they do this. If they are working on the Young Avengers, I think she'll be a good asset to that team.
I think having Robert Downey Jr. in there would maybe pull too much energy towards him out of the show. You know what I mean? Like too much focus on him being there. That like I don't feel like she would get proper spotlight if they did try to bring in Robert Downey Jr. So I'm glad that they did it that way. I think too, it's like they both created an AI that was from something in their own life. Like Tony had Jarvis, which was like the butler who was his dad's right-hand man and probably helped raise Tony, and so it was this person that he was probably pretty close to growing up. And then same thing with Riri and Natalie. It's like something from her past, something that actually means something to her is the AI. So what have you thought of this storyline so far with Parker being the Hood and bringing in what people think is possibly Mephisto finally after all these years? It seems like a weird show to like debut Mephisto, but I guess if they wanted to surprise people, this would be the way to do it, right? Like you would never expect it in Ironheart.
Yeah, I didn't expect the Hood, Mephisto, that whole storyline. I didn't expect none of that, but I kind of like it because I like to be surprised a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, I think what they're doing now is they're trying to blend magic and science. You
Yeah.
know, like here's some technology, here's some magic. Um, Now we can play with what we want to. We can be, like I said, we can be a little bit more creative. Um,
Yeah.
and also I think that now that we're setting up magic and science, when Doom comes in, we won't be so unfamiliar. Like because I
Right.
know he works with tech and science and tech, tech and magic and that's what used to make him so dangerous in the comic books. And he is one of my favorite characters. You know, in the How to Draw the Marvel Way book, there is some
Uh huh.
chapters in there how to draw villains, and Doom is all over it. So, so I did want to see him in MCU, and also, but the Mephisto thing, I I see I like how they're teasing him. You know, we didn't quite see his face, but we know his influence,
Yeah.
and I love that Hood character. Um, I learned more about him when I started to play the Marvel Tetris game. You know,
Uh huh.
he's
Yeah.
one of my favorite characters. So I started reading a book about him, and there's several books written about him. But I like the character and I like the storyline, and I like that they blended them all together. I didn't know he was from Humboldt Park, but I think that's cool too. You know, making him Puerto Rican and
Yeah.
everything, and showing all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like what they're doing with it. Like at first, I was kind of on the fence about this this group of criminals, just
Yeah.
because I at first I was like, well, how can they all fight so good? But then I realized it's really only
Yeah.
two of them that are like the
That could
fighters,
fight.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the rest of them are doing other things, but they bring in the muscle, the blood siblings,
Blood
to
siblings.
uh,
Yeah.
to like take out the guards and stuff like that. So I'm a little more comfortable with it now because at first I was watching, I was like, how do these kids how do all these dudes know how to fight? And they're all like
Yeah.
big nerds, you know what I mean? Like these big
Yeah.
nerds, they all know how to fight. Come on, um, but I do kind of like the Hood. I'm not gonna lie. At first, I
Yeah.
was a little iffy on this version of the Hood, and I'm like, oh, okay, they're doing the actual Hood from the comics. Um, I okay, introduce me to a new villain. I like it. This episode in particular, Riri starts to realize she's really in too deep with these people, and Parker is probably not a good dude, nor some of the people around him. Right? It
Right.
actually gets real in this episode. It gets very dangerous, and one of the things that she did not want to do is hurt anybody. And there's a lot of hurting people in this episode. Like people get killed. She ends up, basically leaving someone to die. Um, so it got pretty dark in this episode, and that's before we even got to the end where he's yelling, was this part of the plan? Like why did you take my friend? Blah, blah. And yeah, it was kind of a rough episode, especially towards the end because you got a lot of people dying. You got the Hood, which is a cool scene where he's disappearing and reappearing and taking people out. He's going invisible, taking out the different guys,
Oh, yeah, that was
and
dope.
just and the fact that he killed the CEO of this company was wild. Like he just went full villain in this episode.
Yeah, I think we're gonna learn a little bit more about his relationship to these people that they're taking out. But and
Yeah.
that's one more thing that I like where it kind of showed like Chicago's underbelly of subculture,
Hmm.
where you got these different kids, like they all smart kids, but because of their situation, they were forced to like kind of click up.
Yeah.
Um, Chicago does have a lot of like I don't want to say necessarily gang activity because a gang is just a group of people. Like sometimes it could be
Hmm.
300 people, it could be 500 people. Um, but a lot of people click up and kind of get into groups. It's real easy
Yeah.
to do that. You know what I'm saying? And I like the whole heist aspect. This whole episode was
Yeah.
centered around them doing this heist, and one guy saying, "Hey, I don't think we should do it yet. We're not ready." And
Right.
the other guy saying, "Hey, let's do it and get it over with." And we know like something's gonna go wrong. We just don't know what. And I
Right.
think also that because this show been done, I think for like a year and a half or 2 years.
Yeah, yeah.
They have more. They talk about having more time to work on the CGI, to work on the dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
They had a lot of women from Marvel work on this show too, to kind of
Mm-hmm.
address different issues, and they had different people work on it. And I think it shows in this episode, because out of the three, this is my favorite one, because it seems like they lead up to this, and
Yeah.
this is kind of like where do we go from here, because like you said, they start hurting people, and that's the whole thing about working with other people. Like, you take on the you got to take on the responsibility of the group. If
Yep.
somebody gets killed, somebody gets hurt, it's everybody's fault. We were all there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's one of the reasons I like to work alone when I'm doing anything, so, because you can
Yeah.
be liable for different things. And
Yeah.
I think she learned her lesson, but it's interesting to see where she goes. I'll learn. It's interesting to see where she goes from here, because we know she becomes a hero, but the whole thing about her friend dying, like, that's another Chicago tradition. Every one of us has a dead friend, or a dead
Mm-hmm.
childhood friend, or we know somebody who lost their life at a young age. It's like it's one of the things just happened. I call up there all the time. One of my childhood friends got hurt. They're in the streets, and it's hard to deal with sometimes. You don't know how to process those things as a kid.
Is that
So I get all that.
so? Is Chicago where you first started to get into mural work? Because is that where you first learned to appreciate mural work? Because it seems like there's a lot of murals in
Well,
Chicago.
we call it mural work now, but back then it was just graffiti. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Um,
tagging stuff with graffiti. Yeah.
yeah, but I didn't. I was a little bit more careful, because I had a father that was a photographer, and he
Mm-hmm.
worked in the neighborhood, and he knew everybody. So if somebody saw some good artwork on the wall, it probably was going to be me. So he
Yeah.
sent me here to where I am now, Kalamazoo, Michigan, where my mother lived, and this is where I got a chance to do the stuff in school and everything. But what Chicago did for me was I learned a lot of photography,
Mm-hmm.
and I used to go to the Garfield Park Conservatory over there in Garfield, and just hang out with my dad, take pictures, and do stuff like that. And I learned how to and I used to take those pictures, and that's how I learned how to draw and draw different characters. So it that city did spark my creativity,
Cool.
definitely.
Yeah.
And just hanging out, going to different places. A lot of my cousins didn't get a chance to really travel with me, but
Mm-hmm.
by the time I was 12 years old, I've been to every museum there, every zoo. Um, my dad used to like to try to get me off, keep us off the streets a little bit.
Yeah.
This was back in the 80s when a lot of the tough guy, what they call the tough guy TV shows came out, like A-Team and
Yeah. Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, it was around that time. I'm watching Rambo movies at 10 years old, so I got into all
Right.
that stuff, and I wanted to draw guns and big characters, and and Marvel was going through its change with its artists at the time. The X
Uh huh.
Force came out and all of that, so I got into all that stuff and watching MacGyver. Learning how to
Yeah.
make zip guns, and so I kind of that's where I related to this show too. Like, just trying to be creative and keep your mind off the fact that you have no money.
So I think okay. So in this episode, uh, we we get a little bit more insight into the hood. We know it's dangerous. We know when other people put it on, they can feel this presence. There's
Energy, yeah.
yeah, there's something to it that makes them uncomfortable. And then we find out that guy Rampage that Riri replaced has been taken out. Like, he's missing, dead. They found him dead, and we know who's responsible. And so Riri starts to kind of investigate that. She wants to know what's up with this hood. Like,
Yeah.
she's gonna need to figure out what's going on with this hood. But as soon as she found out that guy was taken out by this group, she immediately started to realize, like, maybe I am in too deep. Maybe these are not good people.
Right.
So she's like in a more and more dangerous situation all the time, and especially now that she's trying to dig into stuff and find things out about the hood and sneak around. She's in serious danger. But she does get a lot of help from this guy Joe, and I love their relationship. Her and Joe are hilarious together. Like, Joe is getting this confidence about him now that she kind of, fed him with. And But we get the big reveal in this episode that he's not just some random guy, black market collector guy. He's Obadiah Stane's son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was cool. I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, this, I know he's somebody because when they showed this bunker scene, I'm like, this kid is he's not who he say he is, but he's trying to do good. And that thought ran across my mind a couple times, but I'm like, man, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And then when they had that reveal, I'm like, oh, I think that's a cool part of the story that they added, because now he can have some type of he feel guilty about what his dad did.
Right.
And so that guilt can force him to kind of help this new hero and kind of get it's a redemption arc for his whole family. You think about it,
Yeah.
And when he said something about he wanted to be closer to his dad or something like that, I'm like, who his dad has to be somebody. But I like in the first movie they never talked about his family or who he or did he even had a son. You know what I'm saying? And I think that was cool because in a way, Jeff Bridges' character wanted Tony to be his son. And in so many words, he was the big uncle, but he looked to him like a son. So I like that whole connection to it. And yeah, the guy is hilarious. Like he's the comic relief. I like their chemistry between them two. I don't know necessarily is he's gonna stay her sidekick. But the other guy that was Natalie's brother, I'm interested to see their relationship too and where that goes. I hope nothing happens to him. You know what I'm saying? Like later on in later episodes, but I like their relationship too, and I like the distinction between the two relationships. Like one is a best friend, and one is a guy that can actually help her get to where she needs to go as far as like her technology and everything. So.
Okay, so what do you make of that relationship with Xavier and Riri? Because I feel like their relationship is more kind of moving towards a romantic relationship, maybe. While her relationship with Joe is like she found a new friend who kind of understands her, like intellectually, like on a tech level, like they're both into the same type of thing.
Yeah, I think that also think the same thing. They're moving towards like he's gonna be maybe her love interest, or they share a common bond. That her his sister and her best friend died. They share that bond of losing the same person, and also the whole thing with her stepdad too. She was close to these people, and I think she feels like he's the only guy that like kind of been in the trenches with her, knows what she went through. And and like we said, it's a different relationship with Joe. There, that's more of like a I take it like your friend at school, and then you might have a cousin that's a family member, but you guys are closer, like best friends. I kind of take it like that. And then with with the hood's cousin and everything, when he approached her with the whole, hey, I can help you out. I got a little bit of money. I know somebody that can get you a job. He kind of came at her with that angle, and and she fell for it. But I think like that whole scene with him when they just flew out and he got locked into that room.
Oh yeah.
Of course I felt like, hey, that was karma. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. It was a rough scene though, man, because like they were both, struggling for air, and then here comes Natalie with the suit. But only saves her. Like Natalie could have, like the AI could have saved her, or even Riri at the last minute could have saved him. And I think that's why she's feeling guilty at the end, because she literally did leave him there to die.
Right. And also just that
he was trying to kill her, man. He was trying to kill her.
I was kind of took back by that fight scene. I didn't know it was going to be so graphic. I kind of felt like I was watching a Daredevil episode. You know what I'm saying? Like
he was beating on her, man.
Yeah, and it was like raw. Like he's trying to stab her with the knife, and she's swinging, she hitting him with things, and I was like, oh, this is kind of brutal for a third episode. You
Well,
know what I'm
even so,
saying?
remember at the beginning of the episode where he snatches up that other girl and like slams her
Yeah.
down into the table. I was like, damn.
Yeah, that was kind of like, I was like, whoa, I ain't see that side of him. You know what I'm saying?
No,
But
no, and just the violence towards females. Like you don't normally see that.
yeah,
Like, you know what I mean? And it was like,
yeah,
wow. So
yeah.
yeah, that was,
That was one of the that was one of the top. That was like one of the top scenes of this episode that I kind of like. I'm watching it, but I'm like, whoa, where are they going with this?
yeah,
And it kind of led up to that. Led up to the heist scene where he kind of confronts her, and I love that whole setup, and I like the fact that and like I said before, like I was saying yesterday, they took some time to work on the special effects or work on all this extra stuff, and I think
yeah.
that's one of the things that made this show or what made this episode like really pop. Just those two things that happened. So
Yeah,
it's got
I haven't noticed any problems really that stuck out with like the CGI or anything like that so far. I mean, it's been pretty good, and I think the best thing so far about this is that they're not relying too heavy on that. Like they're focusing a lot more on characters and story than they are like the CGI and the tech.
yeah, the storyline is really good, and I like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I like that whole balance. They they didn't just go in there. Hey, we're gonna copy the Iron Man movie. They gave
Right.
it its own flavor, and I love the way it all blends together.
Hmm.
The CGI does look practical. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When she flew to Chicago and she's walking down the street with her gear,
Yeah.
and you already know, hey, this is not Tony Stark stuff. This is
Right.
her stuff she made from stuff that she found. So I can
Yeah.
understand like it breaking apart and her having that her not having that those that money to actually get the stuff that Tony got, but she's working with what she has. And
Yeah.
it really comes to a head in this episode. And I can't wait to see what happens tonight.
Yeah, man. So, because at the end there, like when we start to see more and more, and maybe the almost reveal of Mephisto, maybe, right? I think we're going to find
Yeah.
out in this next episode, probably, if
Uh-huh.
it's for sure Mephisto. But,
Yeah.
in that final scene, when Parker's flipping out because his buddy just died, and
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't understand how this powerful being or whatever, this entity that's supposed to be helping him, let that happen. It's revealed to him without actually showing us anyone. It's revealed to him that Riri had something to do with the
Yeah.
death of his number one, right?
Right. I like that reveal because the camera panned on him,
Yeah.
but all we see is a shadow.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This kind of rises up, and I like that. I think that was really creative. They could have just showed him from the back looking at this
Right.
image,
The
but
whole scene. Yeah.
yeah, it adds mystery to it, and we still don't know if this is Mephisto. Just
Right.
knowing Marvel, they could change it to another character.
Right.
You know what I'm
Just to
saying?
throw us off. Yeah.
Throw us off a little bit, or they could have Mephisto in this series to lead up until one of the Avengers movies. Like they can go either way with it, but
Yeah.
yeah, I like the way that they just, hey, we're just gonna show a shadow of what happens, and then we just kind of look at his face to see how he's his
Right.
emotional reaction to it. And I thought that was cool. I was like, uh-oh, what's gonna happen next? And then she's crying, she's upset about it, but I think my prediction for the next well, I ain't gonna say the next episode, but my prediction is that he's gonna find out his cousin tried to kill Riri and it was an act of self-defense. I think that's gonna happen pretty soon.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it will. I mean, by the end, it will resolve that way. But yeah, what do you think about this? Like the release schedule? They did the first 3 episodes last week, and then they're doing all 3 of the final episodes tonight.
Oh,
So
really? You
yeah, they're
just
doing 3 and 3,
I did
which is
not know
crazy.
that, man. I did not know that. I was just waiting on episode 4 tonight. I didn't know that they were releasing 3
Yeah,
more. So
I didn't realize it until a couple of days ago, and it was like, oh, they're doing
really,
3 and 3. That's crazy. Like,
yeah, they never done that before. I don't think.
no, they definitely
Yeah,
have not.
I
They've definitely been playing with release schedules for all these shows, though. They've done like
yeah,
first 3 and then 1 by 1. They've done first 2 and then 1 by 1. They did
one by
first
one.
2, middle 5, then the final
Yep.
2. They've done all that, but they've never done half and half. It's kind of crazy.
Huh. I wonder if they just like experiment or anything. But wow, that's crazy. I I mean, I'm glad they got the 3 episodes. I like this show.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's wild. I think maybe something too that has to do with that is well, I'm sure you've seen Ryan Coogler's crazy schedule. And he's the producer of this show, right?
yeah.
And he's also he's working on this. He's working on the Eyes of Wakanda cartoon,
Yep.
and he's working on the next Black Panther script. He said he was working on it in between doing Sinners. The man is busy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was gonna say he's probably working on a sequel to Sinners. He's probably working on another Creed movie. Like this
Yeah,
dude,
yeah. Like the man
he,
is a force. Like
yeah,
I'm sure he didn't clear like $1 billion for these people. You know what I'm saying?
right,
On top of his own independent projects, maybe that has something to do with it because the guy is crazy busy. You
yeah,
know, but yeah, I never seen him release stuff like this before. But I mean, I'm down for it.
yeah,
I don't. Is it only going to be 6 episodes? I don't know.
yeah,
It's
yep.
just be
6
six.
episodes.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
And I also think that I think we're gonna have an after credit scene, and I think they're gonna bring her
Yeah,
into the Young Avengers. That's my hope right there. I think that's
yeah.
what they're building up to. Yeah.
I'm still not sure how exactly they're going to do that. I think maybe the Young Avengers is going to be the team that is with Cap, and then maybe the new Avengers is going to be that Thunderbolts team, and somehow
Yeah,
they're
like
going to bring them
yeah,
all together in like Secret Wars and Doomsday and stuff. But
yeah, and
that's actually what I wanted to ask you. Like, what of the
yeah.
upcoming projects are you most looking forward to? We got like Fantastic Four, we've got Secret Wars, we've got Doomsday. Like, what is the thing that you're most like, man, I cannot wait for that one?
I think they're gonna have a level of like a what is I don't think there'll ever be another end game, but if they did do another end game, I think it's gonna be that this Doomsday, the Avengers Doomsday movie. Um,
Mm,
like I said, Doctor Doom is a really big character in the comic books.
yeah,
They haven't brought him to screen yet, but I think they can give him. He's a little more complicated than Thanos, right? This guy is purely evil. Thanos was, he's a guy. He thought he was doing the right thing. He kind of had his own perception of the universe, but this
yeah,
guy, Doctor Doom, is like, I mean, he's got technology, he's got magic, he's got a grudge. You know what I'm saying? I think that
yeah,
I think this movie is going to be one of their biggest once it comes out, but I still don't know where they're going with the story. Are they gonna do like a couple of Fantastic Four movies first, or because they call it First Steps? You know
yeah,
what I'm saying? And then just their whole history with Fantastic Four. Most people look at them as the quintessential Marvel heroes.
yeah. The
They're
first family of Marvel, right?
first family in Marvel. All of
Yeah,
their Black Panther came through that comic book. A lot of characters came through that comic book. Doom was always in that comic book. Um, I think they're going to go more that direction, and then they're going to have like street level heroes like Luke Cage and people like that. So, but like I said, the Doomsday movie, I'm really looking forward to that one. I don't know if I'm gonna go see the Fantastic Four movie, but like I said, I say that all the time, and I always end up at the movies going
yeah.
to
I was
see the
gonna say,
Marvel
really?
movie.
You're not gonna see Fantastic Four? That's crazy. Come on.
Right. Yeah, I
Um,
got to check it out because I don't want to get on this podcast or another one and talk about the movie when I didn't actually see it because I see people do
yeah.
that all the time.
Oh man, dude,
So
that's not. Yeah, you can do that too nowadays because you can just go watch reviews and find out what
reviews,
happened, and you know what I mean, and to take other people's opinions. But
opinions on it. Yeah, yeah. And I don't do the
uh,
whole Rotten Tomato thing and all of that. I have to see movies
yeah,
for myself to really determine if it's good or not, or if some movies have watchability. I can watch them over and over again, and then
yeah,
sometimes I can't just watch a movie once or a show once. I have to watch it a couple of times because
yeah.
you miss things. You're looking
Did
at
you
your
see?
phone. Yeah,
Did you see Thunderbolts?
Yes, I did. And I was surprisingly I liked it. It
Yeah,
was crazy because I was working on a Superman mural,
Mm-hmm.
And the guy said, "Hey, can you paint a Superman logo on my garage? I'm going to see Thunderbolts real quick." And I said, "Hey, I'll try to have it back before you get done with that movie."
Uh-huh.
And I get it done. You know, he comes back like as soon as I get it done, and I'm like, "Hey, how was the movie?" He was like, "Hey, I really liked it. You know, Marvel knocked this one out the park. I want to
Yeah.
see, you know, they had a couple of end credit scenes. I didn't think, you know, he went in with no expectations. You know, he's an older guy.
Yeah.
He said, I'm just gonna go see it, check it out. He said he loved it, and then I went to see it, and I'm like, hey, that wasn't that bad. I
Yeah.
thought it was just gonna be like, hey, we're just taking these B characters and putting them in a movie, but I kind of like the way it ended up, and I can't wait to see what they do with them next. I'm glad they didn't go all the way Suicide Squad with it, and but
Yeah.
I like all those characters, and I like the movie. I just don't know what they're gonna do next with them, you know.
What did you think of Brave New World then?
I like Brave New World. I think it was a good because I was a big fan of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV show,
Uh-huh. Yeah, same.
and I like that they you know, continued a little bit. But one thing that was missing was the kid that Isaiah Bradley's grandson.
Yes.
I want him to become the Patriot, which he does in the comic books. But I
Yeah.
wanted him in this movie to kind of, you know, just like a cameo or appearance or something like that. But I think that was
Mm-hmm.
the only thing missing. And then the other thing with the end credit scene, um, I didn't quite understand what was going on. They kind of was vague with it. But I think the next few movies that comes out, they're gonna that reveal will be like we'll understand why they made that reveal. Like it's I think something big's coming up. I just don't know what. Like the guy said,
You
but
are are you talking about with like the two Avengers teams, or are you talking about like the Fantastic Four showing up at the end?
the Avengers teams, like I'm waiting to
Okay.
see what they do. And then remember the guy at the end said one of the end credit scenes, he was like, "Hey, you don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
You guys think you're heroes." And now I'm assuming that he's talking about maybe the Secret War invasion or Secret Wars.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's Doom, and I think Doomsday is going to go right in. I think it's going to go. So Doomsday, I think, is going to be like the Infinity War of this, you
Yeah.
know, and it's going to lead into Secret Wars, which will be like the end game. So it'll be like
Yeah.
a part one and part two,
Part two to
one
it.
big
Yeah.
story. I feel like they're going to introduce Doom, show you how much of a badass he is, and then he's going to have something to do with the Secret Wars, because there is a version of Secret Wars, right? Like the
Yeah.
more recent Secret Wars, where Doom is the one that pulled them to the planet to,
And then they,
or
yeah, that's right, that's right. I think that looked like that's the direction they're going, and
yeah,
I can't wait to see all this stuff on the big screen because we know how it looks in the comic books, and
yeah,
just like with the Infinity Gauntlet, you know, I read those comic books for years, and then
right,
when I saw it on the screen, I'm like, man, it's not quite as big as a comic book because you can use more of your imagination, and then they didn't have the
yeah,
X-Men and they didn't have all those people, but the way it came out though, I was like, whoa, this is good, and you can watch it over and over again. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Well,
Like
and it
it's
looks like we're gonna get to see all those old X-Men from the Fox universe again here in Doomsday. That's what they're saying. It's like
yeah.
all that old cast is coming back, no
Mm-hmm.
matter how old they've gotten in 25 years. You know?
Come back, yeah, I like it. I like it. And also, I can't
Yeah.
wait for that X-Men cartoon to come back either. You know what I'm saying? Like
Oh, I know.
I like what they're doing as far as the 2D animation and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Me
I
too.
think that's where they're going with this. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, I can't wait, man. I can't wait, especially just to get to some just straight up X-Men movies. Like, I want new X-Men eventually. I want them to introduce a new team of X-Men, all new mutants, all new Magneto, everybody. Like, I want a brand new clean slate, and I just want them to tell great X-Men stories, man. I cannot wait for that.
Yeah, that's the only, you know, that's one of my draws to the Marvel universe. I was a huge X-Men fan. I love the Avengers and
Yep.
the Fantastic Four and all that stuff, but X-Men is what pulled me in. It's what made me want to,
X-Men.
you know, made me want to draw, do all this type of stuff. It sparked my creativity, even the video games.
Yeah,
Um,
that's where it's at. And I think if we go into like a mutant saga, you know, I think it'd be great if they did start introducing some of those other teams throughout, like X Factor, X Force. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that would be the way to go, dude. New Mutants, whatever. Like all those different X teams. That would be
Mm-hmm.
so cool if they could, over the course of the next 10 years or so, start bringing them in as well. Just do this
X
whole big,
Factor, Excalibur, all of them. Like bring
yeah.
all make the X's all their own, thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I'm here for that. That's I've been waiting on that for a long time.
Yeah. Hopefully we get it soon, man. But maybe they'll do all like I know they bring the X-Men in and everything, but there's so many different iterations to the teams.
Yeah.
And different. They had different writers, and some people like these characters, some people like the other characters. Everybody love Wolverine. That's
yeah.
obvious, right? And but they got some more characters on that team that are badass too.
I know. I know.
And
Some that they've never really used in terms of like cartoons or movies. So
yeah.
it would be great.
Yeah, bring them in. I mean, I know they got the money. They just have to, when you're making these movies, it's like, yeah, you got your comic book crowd and all this and stuff, and people want to see certain things in the movies, but when you actually put stuff in the movies and you got to deal with special effects and you got to deal with different actors and everything, it's a whole nother monster. But I think they can do it. I think they can pull it off. Like now that we have all these superhero movies out there, they have stuff to pull from. So I'm excited to see what happens next, though, man. For real.
Me too, man. Hey, Gerald, thank you so much for coming on here and doing this the way we had to do it, basically splitting it up and dealing with my technical difficulties and having your own technical difficulty. I appreciate it, dude. It means a lot, so I appreciate it.
Hey, things happen sometimes, but hey, we got to keep on going to keep making it happen, man.
That's it. All right. Well, hey, I'll talk to you soon, man. Hopefully we can get together and talk again.
Definitely. When this series is over, man, if you ever want to have a round table or whatever, I'm available. Just message me on Facebook, man.
All right, cool. Thanks,
All right, Doc. All right, be cool, man.
All right, my friends, that is going to do it for the discussion with Gerald. I hope you enjoyed it. It's always a lot of fun talking to him. I'll tell you what, that this was not an easy episode to record. If you're watching the video version, it'll be easy to tell because I'm wearing different outfits throughout the video because we had to record some of it yesterday in little segments because my phone kept dying, my camera kept shutting off, and then we rescheduled to finish the podcast today, and then his phone died while he was recording, so it was kind of tough, but we love doing it, so we made it happen. And Gerald is a consummate professional. He's always going to try to make it work, and that's something that him and I have in common. So I hope you appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. And yeah, like I said, I'm not going to eat up too much of your time, but I would love to know what you think, not only of the Ironheart series thus far, the first 3 episodes, but also what do you think of the release schedule? Are you down for this? Do you like this? Do you want other series in the future to do it? Personally, I am not a huge fan because it bunches too many episodes together for me to watch and then, dissect and then discuss. And I don't have time to like absorb them and really ruminate and think about it. So I don't know. I don't love it. I don't love it like this. Even 2 episodes like together back to back is not as bad, but like 3 and then 3 is crazy. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. You can reach out on social media at RealBrettScott. Don't forget to like the show, review the show, all the stuff you can do with the show to help the show grow. Tell your geeky friends about Marvel Plus and come join the Marvel Plus Facebook group. Thank you guys so much, as always. My name is Brett Scott, and this has been Marvel Plus.